This is the craziest God story I've ever heard in my entire life. This will literally give you chills. I'm not kidding. Stay till the end because this will blow your mind. So do y'all know who Billy Graham is? If you don't, he was a very popular preacher in the 1950s. He was doing these events where he had tens of thousands of people who would come and listen to him preach the gospel. And a lot of people loved him, but there were some people that didn't like him so much. People hated him because he was preaching the truth. And on March 15th, 1959, Billy Graham was preaching in Australia, and he had 143,000 people in attendance listening to him preach. But in that crowd of 143,000, there was 10 people that weren't there to just listen. They were there to do some harm. They were there to unalive Billy Graham because they really didn't like him. And so they made a plan. They planned it very carefully. Each of them had a weapon on them that they planned to unalive him with. And so they decided to wait until the altar call where Billy Graham would bring everybody up to the front who were getting saved. And this is when people would rush towards the front, and they thought that this would be the best time because it's when the security is probably the weakest. And one of the people who were a part of this, who were going to unalive Billy Graham, was a 17-year-old named George Palmer. And George actually went through some crazy stuff earlier in his life. 10 years before this, George saw his father die from a heart attack. And right after that, George went into a field and screamed at God, saying, "I hate you, God." And that sent him on a downward spiral until this point where he's 17 years old and he's about to make a very bad decision. And now he's sitting in this stadium waiting for the right moment to unalive Billy Graham. But Billy Graham began preaching on forgiveness, on sin, on repentance, about a God who loves even those that hate him. And then something crazy happened. As George was sitting there, he heard a voice that said, "George, what are you doing?" And George turned around and he didn't see anyone. But he knew that was God speaking to him. And as Billy Graham kept preaching, George starts crying. And by the time the altar call came, George pulled out his weapon, he put it on the ground, and he went up to get saved at the altar. And the other guys he came with also followed along and went up to the front of the altar and got saved. And George would later on say this: God took a person who hated him with every part of his being, and he loved him. That's the gospel, y'all. That's how the gospel works, man. There's nobody too far that Jesus can't reach. There's nobody too broken that he can't fix. There's nobody too hurt that he can't heal. There's nobody too lost that he can't find. There's nobody too far that he can't reach. There's nobody too dirty that he can't clean. There's nobody too guilty that he can't forgive. And there's nobody too sinful that he can't save. I don't know who you are, but I know that
Jesus can save you all, and I'm a witness. There's nothing you'll find greater than his forgiveness.